Professors from Thailand, Poland, China, India, Nepal, and Mayor and Deputy Mayor of Suva Municipality. The Campus Management Committee members, Campus Chief of Suva Multiple Campus, railway officers, academicians, Campus Chief from different campuses, faculties, esteemed guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I extend a warm welcome to each of you at this distinguished international conference on sustainability in higher education, integrating local and global knowledge, proudly organized by our campus on the behalf of Campus Management Committee. This event has brought together skilled scholars, dedicated educators, and forward-thinking visionaries, all united in their commitment to the promotion, sustainability, and forward-looking approach to higher education. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the distinguished participants who have traveled from near and far to be part of the conference. Your presence is proof to the value of collaborative learning, dialogue, and shared wisdom in addressing challenges in higher education. It will embark on this intellectual journey together. I sincerely hope that you have a wonderful, engaging discussion and in a recent session make your time here both productive and memorable. Soon the multiple campus is earned to serve as the platform for insightful deliberations that will inspire new perspectives and foster meaningful collaboration. With the esteemed presence of the Chairman of the University Grant Commission and many distinguished academic leaders, this conference promises to be an enlightening exchange of ideas. The integration of local and global knowledge is vital to developing an education system that is both innovative and sustainable. One that empowers individuals, strengthens institutions, and contributes positively to higher education of Nepal and globally. As we now proceed ahead with this inauguration ceremony, I extend my best wishes for a successful and inspiring event with insightful sessions. May the discussion held today lead to transformative strategy that will shape the future of higher education in meaningful ways. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you for your participation and wish you a truly rewarding experience at this conference. Now, I welcome you all. Thank you for your participation and wish you a truly rewarding experience at this conference. I repeat it for your important presence in this hall. Now, I would like to announce the end of this opening ceremony. Thank you. Namaskar. Good morning.
Educators and change makers by equipping people across South Asia with the language tools to access global opportunity. Now, for a little personal context that was alluded to in my intro. The first time that I came to Nepal was about 20 years ago as a young backpacker. I hiked the Annapurna circuit then and fell in love with this country. And like many visitors, at the end of that trip, I said to myself, I have to come back to Nepal. In the subsequent years, I returned to Nepal to climb more mountains and to study in its temples and its monasteries. Those journeys deepened my respect and understanding of Nepal, but they didn't reveal the role I would one day play, which is today, here now as an American diplomat. This time not with a backpack, but with a mission to support Nepal's economic development, empower its youth, and build connections between our two countries. As Public Affairs Chief, I now lead programs that promote education, drive innovation, and promote partnerships across Nepal. And through that lens, I've seen something really powerful. Education, done right, is not just about textbooks. It's about transformation. Today, I want to talk about how American universities are built to foster that transformation, not just for Americans, but for the global community, including right here in Nepal. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to appreciate what RELA does, what the Regional English Language Office does by Bishwa and by Roger over here. Everything that they offer, every workshop, every training, every exchange program, every piece of online education content, it is for free. These resources aren't just for language learners, they're economic accelerators. Good English skills help Nepalis thrive when they study or work in the United States, but they also help Nepali entrepreneurs here trade with American businesses, pitch ideas globally, and build competitive companies right here at home in Nepal. Relo programs teach more than just grammar as well. They teach American values, democratic classrooms, critical thinking, and community service. They build soft skills in hard environments. They send Nepali teachers to the United States. 200 students every 2 years, not just in English, but in leadership and in civic engagement. So, if you're a teacher and you haven't signed up for their online courses yet, or studied with their US professors online, come talk to Raja and Bishwa on the sidelines of this conference. Trust me, it's worth your time. And so, a quick show of hands, how many of you here have participated in any Relo program before? Some people here, a handful of people, awesome. So I see about 5, 6, 7 people. So hopefully next year when we come back, we'll see twice that number, hopefully. And so now, let's talk about the real engine behind American innovation. It's our universities. Let's be blunt, let's be straightforward. Universities aren't just places to learn things, right? And film before you narrow down your educational path. So, in our eyes, that's not being inefficient, it's being strategic. In my own university years, you know, when I was 18, 19 years old, I really thought I had it all figured out. I studied communications and political science at UCLA, the University of California in Los Angeles. And back then, I really thought that advertising, working in the advertising at UCLA, I even worked for an advertising agency that managed the famous tech brand Apple. It was really thrilling, really exciting work. It was fast-paced, really high pressure, and a lot of creative energy working at that agency in Los Angeles, California. But as I worked there, I felt like I wanted a deeper connection to real-world events. So I took a job across town, across Los Angeles, at a television news station in Hollywood. So that TV station was literally next door to Paramount Studios, where, you know, big Hollywood blockbuster movies were being made, while across the street I was chasing breaking news internationally. I loved that energy as well at the TV station. But still, at that time, something was missing. I realized that I just didn't want to report the news, I wanted to help shape it. And so that desire for direct global impact led me to Columbia University in New York City, and there I studied for a master's in international affairs, and eventually it led me to this career in diplomacy. And honestly, that career, I didn't even know that existed when I first was an undergrad student back in Los Angeles at UCLA. And so all of this is to say that the culture of learning, discovery, the culture of experimentation, that's really the heartbeat of discovery and innovation. And so now, when we talk about innovation today, we're talking about what? We're talking about technology, especially artificial intelligence. In 2023, for example, over half of the American university students there took at least one online course. And so that's just not a shift in logistics of providing instruction, it was a catalyst. It forces professors to rethink everything, right? From curriculum to assessment to the very definition of what teaching means now. And so at American universities today, AI is everywhere. So of course it's not just ChatGPT, you know, but it's a sprawling ecosystem of applications. And many of these applications are built by students themselves. So Stanford, MIT, Michigan State, these places are now incubators. They're not waiting for the future, they're building it right now and in real time. And so, of course, we've got to ask ourselves, AI. Is AI controversial? Of course it is. Some call it plagiarism at a mass scale. Others call it the greatest tool of our generation. But I think that both of these can be true. But here's the thing, here's the key. Our universities are not shutting AI down. They're wrestling with it, they're shaping it and integrating it into their curriculums. That is really how progress works. And so innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in ecosystems. So think about the cities like Boston, Austin, and Seattle. These cities are built around universities and tech hubs. It's a symbolic loop here then, because students feed the companies, companies feed the campuses, and then there are internships, mentorships, and funding, all of it flowing both ways really. And so I think that Nepal can do this too. Nepal has the brain power. What it needs is that bridge between academia and industry. That's something that the American Embassy is actively working on supporting right now. And so now, let's talk about something beyond AI. Let's talk about something a little less tangible, but it's equally as powerful, and that's character. American universities are not just academic factories, they're life labs, really. Every student there joins a club, they start a side hustle, a side business, they run for student government. You know, doing all of these things is a default setting for a lot of students to do something, to try something, to build something. And so I think really from all of this movement and activity, all this chaos comes discovery. And so that energy from campus newspapers, trivia nights, coding clubs, model UN debates, it's not just extracurricular, it's essential. It's where leadership is really born, and it's how young people figure out what they're really made of. One of the biggest shifts in US education over the past decade is how we teach as well. You know, in the past, it used to be a professor talks and a student listens. Now, increasingly, it's a flipped classroom because students watch the lecture before class actually, and then they come to campus to debate, build, challenge, and create. It's active learning. Of course, it's noisy, it's hot, it's messy, and it all works though. And so driving this are teaching and learning centers, campus hubs that train professors to be better at engaging students, instructional designers, tech specialists, and things into workshops as well. And so, in short, students stop being laid back, passive consumers of knowledge and start becoming producers of innovation themselves. And so now, do you want to understand what really makes universities work? What really makes universities work is the tenure system. Professors in the United States spend about 6 to 7 years building their cases, not just in research, but in teaching and in service. They have to prove that their work matters. They prove it to the students, to the university, and to society. And so to me, that's really called accountability. That's pressure, but it's also the path to excellence. To get to tenure, professors submit full portfolios, which consist of course materials, student evaluations, research grants, committee work, and public engagement. That bar, which is high level, it's holistic and very human, is why American universities just don't produce knowledge, they produce value. And so, what does all this really mean for Nepal? It means there is a model that is worth studying. It's billion-dollar budgets to drive innovation. They really just need three things. First, a culture that rewards taking risks and experimentation. Second, a structure that incentivizes service and teaching, not just research. And third, a bridge between the classroom and the marketplace. So for all of these three things, the U.S. Embassy is here to help build that bridge. And so whether it's through Relo with Bishwa and Roger, whether it's through our Education USA advising services, or the American Embassy's partnerships with tech startups and incubators, we are seriously investing in Nepali talent. And so I don't think you need to go to Harvard to think like a Harvard graduate. You need to have the right environment really to think boldly, to fail smart, and to build something new. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let me leave you with this. Innovation is not lightning in a bottle. It's a system. It's a set of habits. It's a commitment to constant reinvention. That's why the US has the best universities to offer, and that's what Nepal's education system, that the next big idea doesn't have to come from Silicon Valley. It could come from the hills of Dhulikhel, the dorm rooms of Kathmandu, or the lecture halls right here in Sundar Haraicha. So let's build that system together and make that happen. Thank you so much, Dhanibad. Thank you.
So thank you, Mike, for your wonderful taste. The Canadian system follow almost the same systems they follow. But while coming back to the country, like you feel how rigid we are in our academic ecosystem that we have. Nepal or India is not much difference. However, in recent time, India have learned that it's a high time education to become the instrument of change of the society. It has to have openness, and many of you may know, in 2020, the government of India launched National Education Policy, which he visually not sure how, like whether it is visible from the back benches. The screen is quite small, but don't worry. When I first saw that SMC, your Sukuna Multiple Campus, I thought this is a Sustainable Management Conference and version 1. So for quite some time, I said, well, this is Sukuna Multiple Campus Conference. It could as well be a Sustainable Management Conference because it doesn't only include science, it includes all spheres of human activity. Okay, so what I'd like to share with you, the Western model of education, you say integration of indigenous knowledge with the global knowledge. The global knowledge, which is based on empirical, which has an empirical basis, it has to be repeatable. Like an indigenous knowledge that has evolved over a period of time, which do not have proper scientific backup, but society has sustained over thousands of years using this indigenous knowledge. This phenomena of modern science is only about 3,000 years old. So definitely this indigenous knowledge, we have to revisit, we have to see what it holds for society, how we can do experimentation and establish this knowledge for the benefit of humanity, for the sustainability. Can you please? Now, I have to go down, okay. Now this is how, if you look at how knowledge has evolved. This is a Praman in Sanskrit, that's an empirical basis or indriya, which we can perceive. There are a lot of things which you cannot perceive, that it is also part that knowledge comes through a lot of thought process. Like the indigenous local knowledge of societies with long history of interactions with nature surrounding do not have strong scientific basis, but Also, the place in Eastern world, our sages, Rishi Muni, used to see, he'll sit in meditation, dhyan, and he gets lot of message. That's not untrue, but it doesn't, another person cannot repeat it, but that doesn't mean that this is not true. So lot of experience of evolved persons have been useful for society. Now, this rapid advancement of science, technology and innovation along with rising population and resource consumption has increasingly threatened the planet's sustainability. We all agree to that. See what has happened to the sustainability, my view is, or view of most other people, is that once the science progressed, we learned to control diseases, discover antibiotics. Assam Downtown University, and we had Vice Chancellor delivering his keynote here, and that's a great honor for all of us here. Thank you, Professor Dalgar, for your time and insightful talk on this indigenous knowledge.
How many of you believe in this one? 3 घण्टे जाँचले सिद्धिएको छ हामीलाई. Okay. Is it coming? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. This is my title. I have so many slides. Unfortunately, I try to rush. Once again, good morning. I need something. Okay. If it's better, I'll start from here. ठीक छ हैन? Okay. Thank you. Good morning. So I have 4 parts, but I try to finish in the given time. That is half an hour and so. So let me set the context and let me frame the problem. What is our problem? What is the problem with our assessment? And it's not just assessment, it is not just 3-hour exam. There is an ideology of higher education, goes back to many years. We actually think that it starts from curriculum and pedagogy and assessment. This is a very linear model, but it is just the opposite. It is not like that. It starts from assessment. And that's how curriculum is framed on the basis of the hierarchy of subject matter. That is, those subject matters are actually hidden in the frame of 3-hour or 4-hour long assessment, and beneath that there is a higher education ideology. Okay, I'll unpack them. The question then, because the chairperson of University Grants Commission spoke earlier and said that we need to improve higher education by making our youth creative. So how can we make creative? Let's see. So this is the question. Of course, many of my seniors and even contemporary, they would always say, when I say colonial, post-colonial, decolonial, what the heck are you talking about? Nepal has never been directly colonized. But I would say that educationally we were colonized since the time of Janga Bahadur. Janga Bahadur established English school. It has been almost 200 years, and there is a huge number of failure in English in itself, in our C or SLC or even in higher education. So philosophy, physically we never colonized, but this idea of center and periphery has ever present since the time of establishment of Trichandra College. So I quoted some, particularly I am the fan of Fanon idea of comparative intelligentsia and center versus periphery. So I have used that frame here. So I would say then crypto-colonial, it's not seen, it's crypto, it's not direct, but there is colonial legacy. We have the concept, for example, in British time, in British colonial era, there was a concept called home and colony. Okay? So now we have center and periphery. You try to understand it. I don't want to say directly, but in a metaphorical sense, since there is a center and there are peripheries. So controlling, we use the word managing. Management is also a form of control. I don't mean to say negatively, but it is the replacement of the word. Colony, periphery, affiliated, if you like. This is the concept. And Fanon said of course it's in, during the time of Second World War actually, Fanon's book comes from that time, but this is republished. So he talked about comprador intelligentsia, and I have also borrowed in my framing. Comprador means the broker, just like us. We have studied in Western universities, and even if we have not studied in Western universities, we are actually all CD here in Nepal. In the DNA of higher education, in the DNA of school education, and we all become comprador, broker, and intelligentsia, so-called intellectuals. So this is the idea of Franz Fanon back in 1950s, and what it does is actually promotes quick fix approach to reform. It doesn't look into the community need, it looks into the need of that class. And agenda is set outside. Okay, so everything is set outside of the context and then implemented in there. Neglect of local, everyday and indigenous. So, and again it is coupled with neoliberal imperatives, and that focuses more on your system should be effective, your system should be efficient, and you should have this value of money. And we also borrowed this one. And what we do? Then our exam system is efficient because we conduct exam from center. Periphery should follow that one, and the money should be saved. And this has been the slogan of our rulers as well. Okay? So, and then for example, I'm sorry to say, so more QA institutions, less number of campuses with sizable students population. You see, these two things are becoming apart. So it should be the causal kind of thing. So more students there and more QA there. Meaning that the agenda are set outside, there is quick fix approach, and there is a neglect of local, everyday and indigenous. So this can be Kapil Dev Regmiji writes article about higher education, neoliberal imperatives, and this deja vu all over again. Many years back, during the time of Trichandra campus, probably 100 years back, is coming again. So, preamble, market, choice, global, these are the words. We say market. We say choice. Choice is very problematic word. Even if you do not have so many options, so what do you choose? You choose what is available. This is also problematic. And global is also problematic. Who is global? We are also globe. We are not outside of globe. So who is global? So this is also. And then we talk about modernization. Thank you, Professor Talukdar. You said you should shape this region. Yes. What form of modernization are we looking for? What is our imagination of modernization? Western modernization. And this is imagined to be done by the center. Because it has to be efficient, less money should be spent, because it has been equated with efficiency, effectiveness and value of money. Okay? And the controlling mechanism is then assessment as far as higher education is concerned. Everything is reduced to then assessment. Okay? Even if you write so many good words in preamble. And we are actually lacking imagination. What can be done in higher education? Mike already mentioned about this, openness in higher education. So probably we are in proto-modernist state. They are moving further than modernism. So we are going back, following what British Indian model.
Tourist keeper, photographer, a few photo exhibition, and science popular writer, a few hundred of pop science lectures. He was a visiting scholar at Hainan University, Arizona State University, joined International Tourism College, Haikou, China. I am a visiting fellow at the Center for Tourism Research, Wakayama University, Japan. He received his MSc and PhD in tourist keeper, photographer, a few photo exhibition, and science popular writer, a few hundred of pop science lectures. Integrate knowledge, from the perspectives of various points of view into his research and consultancy work. His areas of expertise are
research. And for example, we can use some really important topic in our research. So through that, we can connect something very important with something that we have to teach. So for example, I just put here some examples. So for example, for math teaching. If we want to teach math, we can also use some formula and show, for example, how glaciaritely and how huge is this amount. So through mathematics, we can also background to show. I also wanted here Professor, sorry if I pronounce it wrongly, Tapulia. She has a presentation about IT, and she also showed us a map when she present food inequality. So through IT, she showed us something really.
Nepali, he was the first one, was international student who graduated PhD in PSU. Our Prince of Songkhan University, the first international student, PhD student, she is Nepali. So I know her. She is Dr. Namada Thapa. So I think that some of you know her. She worked in the military hospital and now she already retired. And then after that, I know my friend again, another one who is Binita Ma'am, Binita Podel, Associate Professor Dr. Binita Podel. How can I know her? She got the scholarship, that scholarship provided by Norway. And that scholarship agency, we call in short FK, holds a scholarship to our university to benefit.
We support institutions in focusing on governance, accountability, performance, and continuous improvement, equity and inclusion. We are making special efforts to increase access for women, indigenous groups, and remote communities through scholarship, distance education, and supportive policies. I want to reaffirm that UGC Nepal stands as a dedicated partner and enabler in the pursuit of a relevant, inclusive, and future-ready higher education landscape. Events such as this international seminar provide an invaluable platform for shared learning. The deep cultural, educational, and historical ties between Nepal and India present an excellent opportunity for our collaboration among our universities. We can create joint research projects addressing regional challenges, facilitate student and faculty exchanges to broaden perspectives, and establish cross-border internship and industrial visits. For community campuses, I recommend collaborating with regional higher education institutions to share expertise, research finding, and publication. I firmly believe that conferences like this can be eye-opening and transformative. Thank you for this opportunity, and I trust that this conference will deliver a powerful message that community campuses can indeed excel. In closing, let us seize this opportunity to engage in thoughtful dialogue, to challenge the status quo, and to envision a higher education landscape that is not only sustainable but also equitable and inclusive. The stakes are high, and our commitment to this mission must be unwavering. I wish you all the most fruitful, engage in most fruitful discussion, and may our collective efforts pave the way for a brighter, more sustainable future. Thank you, and may you all be blessed in your noble endeavors. Thank you all once again.